This is Donald Trump. He is arriving at his court hearing in New York. As a former president and having access to highly classified information, it is important that the United States keeps him safe as to protect the integrity of the country. But he isn't the president anymore. So what exactly does the government do, if anything, to ensure Trump and all other former presidents remain safe after they leave office? We're all well aware of the rigorous protection that the sitting President of the United States has from the Secret Service. But when they finish their last days as president, do they just meld back into their regular pre-presidential life, doing whatever it was that they did prior? Well, that depends on what time in history you ask. Prior to 1958, there were actually no retirement benefits for former presidents, so yeah, the government just kinda threw them to the wolves and said, fend for yourself. But in 1958, the Former Presidents Act took effect, provided for lifetime Secret Service protection for former presidents. However, it didn't remain this way forever, as in 1994, a law was passed that would limit the protection of former presidents to just 10 years. This was done because it appeared to be a waste of money, and surely the former presidents were not that big of a target for security threats, right? However, Barack Obama would reinstate the lifetime protection via the Former Presidents Protection Act of 2012. Lifetime Secret Service protection was awarded to every former president and their spouse from George Bush forward. Their children even get this same protection until they reach the age of 16. And they don't pull any punches with this protection. The service includes 24/7 security. And again, this isn't just an on-the-side security detail. This is the actual Secret Service. The same Secret Service responsible for keeping the acting commander-in-chief safe. Their homes are equipped with advanced security systems and Secret Service agents that often stay on the premises at all times to ensure the safety of the property and its occupants. On top of having the Secret Service with them, they also get to travel in specially designed armored vehicles with many similar features to the presidential limo The Beast, including bulletproof windows, reinforced steel plating, and secure communication systems. In fact, you can also drive around in a bulletproof vehicle. The M1A3 Abrams in Conflict of Nations. Conflict of Nations is a free-to-play online PvP strategy game. In Conflict of Nations, you get to choose a real country to lead during World War III and fight up to 128 other real players online in real-time games that can take weeks to complete. You can use more than just tanks. You can use over 100 modern weapon systems such as nuclear ballistic submarine, combat attack helicopters, and many more. Choose your own winning strategy to engage in epic battles and take over the world. You can play on the same account on both PC and mobile device. So click the link in the description to get a jump start on victory and receive 13,000 gold and 1 month of a premium subscription for free. This offer is only for 30 days, so don't lose time. Back to the people who also don't tend to sit around and wait, the former presidents. Not only is the former president's car similar to the Beast, but former presidents often travel with some form of an escort or motorcade when traveling on public roads. Now, while this may be a blessing, having people provided that are responsible with taking you anywhere you need to go, it does come with a downside. Many former presidents are car people or just enjoy driving in general, but when you have a Secret Service detail, not only is the personal drivers a luxury, but they're in fact required. Those responsible with driving around former presidents are especially trained in evasive driving maneuvers and are expertly vigilant towards any potential threats on the road. So those under their protection are actually not allowed to drive themselves on public roads. This rule was put in place shortly after JFK was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson being the last U.S. president to ever drive himself around. And the Secret Service is pretty strict about it. Obama even told a story on Jimmy Kimmel during his presidency about him just driving a staff member's car around the White House lot and the Secret Service not being happy with him at all. If former presidents want the ability to get behind the wheel and drive at all, as former President George Bush has been seen many times, you must drive around on your own property away from any possible threats. So, what are the other perks of being a former president? Are there rules or restrictions, or can the former president just simply return back to their normal lives now that they have effectively retired from their former job? Well, not really. It isn't that simple. There are definitely several benefits, such as a pension and a substantial annual pension. In recent years, somewhere around $219,000 in fact. Yes, you heard that right. When the president finishes their time as president, they get to enjoy over $200,000 of your tax dollars every year until they die. This pension ensures they can maintain a dignified lifestyle after their service. They also receive funds for travel, office space, and staff. Financially, they don't really have to worry about anything anymore and can have any and all responsibilities and work moving forward streamlined as much as possible. However, with all these perks comes restrictions. As mentioned, life doesn't, and pretty much can't, go back to normal once you stop being Commander-in-Chief. Outside of not being able to drive yourself, your every move is watched under a microscope. The technology you own has to be pre-approved to prevent people from gaining unauthorized access to it. This was a rule put in place for good reason, as without the various security features implemented to say the cell phones used, it leaves open a very real possibility for a data breach or a hack. Donald Trump found himself dealing with this very issue during his time as president. He decided to ignore the security protocols in regards to cell phones and used one not approved or secured by government officials, and sure enough, his phone was hacked several times. Other restrictions the former presidents must face involve mail and deliveries. The former presidents can't just hop on Amazon and get their free same-day Prime deliveries. Any package en route to the former presidents are intercepted and brought to a secure facility where trained professionals will scour every inch of the package and its contents to ensure that it doesn't contain any harmful materials or explosives that could potentially harm their VIP. This is another measure in place that, while incredibly inconvenient, actually has prevented potential danger. As recently as 2018, several packages containing explosive materials were sent to former President Obama and Clinton, but never made it to them, thanks to these security measures. Former presidents can't even do things spontaneously. Even just grabbing some fast food requires several hours' notice for the Secret Service to plan and prepare for the trip. So, if they can't even conveniently make a quick trip to McDonald's, what happens if the former president wants to travel? What if he wants to travel internationally? Former presidents, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, depending on their opinions on flying, are heavily discouraged from just simply purchasing a plane ticket and traveling among the common folks like us. For security purposes, they are usually made to fly private. If the former presidents need to travel for business, such as for a speech or any kind of meeting where they are playing a role of the former president on behalf of the United States, lucky for them, Uncle Sam will reach into a lump of our tax dollars and pay for the flight. How much, you may wonder? Well, the former president is entitled to a total of $1 million to cover security and travel-related expenses over the year. That's not all, though. Their spouse is also entitled to another $500,000 for her own security and travel expenses. Now, while this seems like a lot, it has almost never actually been used in its entirety by any former president. Should the former president just decide they want to fly for leisure, such as to go on a family vacation or something, the former president must cover the cost. However, that cost is going to include arranging the actual logistics. I'm sure former presidents won't have much trouble finding a private jet willing to take them wherever, but I guarantee it's not going to be cheap. That $219,000 we give them via our tax dollars will definitely come in handy for that. There actually has been an exception to this rule, shockingly. Former President Jimmy Carter and his family actually refuse to fly private and are regularly seen flying commercial, taking photos and hanging out with the common people when going on his trips. In fact, he regularly will shake every passenger's hand on the flight and apologize personally for any delays he may have caused. But what happens if the former president isn't just going on a trip? What if they decide to go on a permanent vacation and just stay there? Could a former president of the United States just up and leave the country? Could he settle down on a quiet farm out in Switzerland? The short answer is probably. It kind of depends on what country the president wanted to move to. Just because he leaves the country doesn't mean he loses his Secret Service protection, so it would require the Secret Service to go in, ensuring equal protection on the land of the former POTUS decided to live on, and coordinate with the government of the country they were trying to move to. It's unlikely a foreign government would have too much of an issue with it, but I'm sure not every country's government wants a person with a heavily armed protection squad to come and set up base there. But if the former president and/or the US government has a good relationship with the country, it should certainly be possible to make it happen. As with many things in life, however, things are not equal for everyone, and that goes for ex-president's security as well. Before ascending to the presidency, Donald Trump was a high-profile businessman and celebrity. Even before being president, this necessitated a relatively high-profile security detail. Trump's private security team was composed of former law enforcement officers, ex-FBI agents, and other seasoned security professionals. Keith Schiller, a retired NYPD detective, played an important role in this setup, serving as Trump's bodyguard and later his director of security. This team acted as his own private secret service, responsible for protecting Trump, his family, and his properties, including the iconic Trump Tower in New York City. The security measures didn't just stop at the personnel he hired for Trump. It extended to his fleet of luxurious and specially equipped vehicles. Among these, his own specially designed Boeing 757, dubbed Trump Force One. Name sounds familiar. Purchased in 2011, the plane was a flying fortress, has two Rolls-Royce RB211 turbofan engines, and is configured to seat 43 people. It has a dining room, bathroom, shower, bedroom, guest room, and galley. Many fixtures and trims throughout the aircraft are even plated in 24-karat gold. That is the luxury most ex-presidents simply cannot afford. On the ground, Trump has a convoy that includes armored limousines and SUVs. Frankly, Trump just seems to enjoy collecting cars since he has a slew of them. From a 1997 Lamborghini Diablo VT, or what some call the presidential Lamborghini, or I suppose called before he sold it for over $1 million. He also has a McLaren, Rolls-Royce, and a decked-out Mercedes-Benz S600 Guard, a vehicle definitely on the short list of cars someone should have when they hit the point in their fame requires additional security. The vehicle is designed to protect those inhabiting it against high-powered rifles and still look great rolling up to the country club. Upon becoming president, Donald Trump's security was taken over by the United States Secret Service, a transition that marked a significant shift in his protective measures. Despite the presence of the Secret Service, Trump maintained a close relationship with his private security team. Notably, Schiller even transitioned to a White House role, so Trump could ensure he kept his most trusted security officer close by. Nowadays, Trump continues to receive his lifelong Secret Service protection. They still work as expected with other ex-presidents, ensuring his safety 24/7, both at his residences and during travel. Trump's primary residence, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, is heavily secured, and additionally, his private properties, including Trump Tower and various golf clubs, are regularly monitored and protected. However, Trump's post-presidency security setup stands out due to his continued reliance on his private security team. They work in tandem to make sure there is never a moment where Trump isn't completely protected from anything that may come his way. This dual layer of protection is somewhat unique among former presidents. While the Secret Service provides perhaps the most comprehensive protection of any detail on Earth, Trump has a long-standing trust in his private security personnel, and if he wants extra protection, well, he is a billionaire and I'm sure he can afford it. This arrangement allows for a highly personalized security strategy, integrating the strengths of both government and private security measures. Another distinction lies in the scale and visibility of Trump's security. His high-profile lifestyle and continued public presence makes a more visible and extensive security more mandatory. Mar-a-Lago, a club and residence, requires significant security coordination, given it frequently hosts high-profile events with incredibly important guests. This contrasts with the quieter post-presidency lives of some other ex-presidents, such as George W. Bush, who leads a more private life in Texas and can get away without the security presence being so upfront. All of this seems like a lot for a person who has effectively retired from their position to have to worry about, not to mention the complete lack of privacy that comes with around-the-clock protection. But there is a caveat. The Secret Service protection is actually optional. Yeah, you can just tell them, "Nah, I'm good," and you are free to fend for yourself. Obviously, sharing country secrets still remains illegal, and if you're as high profile or controversial as someone like Trump, you probably should have some form of protection. But you're free to assign them to your own liking. Despite this option being in place, only one president has ever decided to decline the protection, and that was Richard Nixon. He stated the fact that he was wealthy enough to pay for his own service and would rather save the government money on having to pay for it. Otherwise, every former president eligible for them has taken the Secret Service protection for themselves and their families. What about you? If you were an ex-president, would you take the protection for life? Or do you value your privacy too much to have armed guards always watching your every move? Big thanks to the sponsor of this video, Conflict of Nations, the free online PvP strategy game happening in a modern global warfare, where you can choose your own strategy and engage in epic battles to take over the world. Click the link in the description in the next 30 days to get 13,000 gold and 1 month of a premium subscription for free. So click the link in the description so you don't miss out, and choose your country and fight your way to victory. Bye for now.